Hi, this is Etharal here with EGN, coming back with another one of my Warhammer Crusader Kings 2 Let's Plays. So we'll get started with this nice and quickly, jump straight in. You will notice I have skipped ahead in the time of Tythalia. We've now managed to get all of the claims for the Portua area, and she's going to launch her invasion of the mainland of the Old World. Finally be the first elf in centuries to actually own land on the mainland. So we're going to get this all set off here. Hope you enjoy this. We're going to see some interesting turns that will happen in this episode, I can assure you of that, so be sure to keep watching, and obviously for future ones do feel free to subscribe if you are enjoying this series, and would love to see more of you watching this regularly, and obviously to get your own announcements for when they do get released. So obviously going to check to make sure what's going on here. We do notice that the King of Portua here, who has attacked, has actually brought in some allies. That's nothing too much to be worried about at the minute. We do believe we do have enough men to actually claim him, and also as well because we have been marrying off our sons, Tythalia is in an excellent opportunity to actually be able to bring in other people to this war and help defend her place. So we're going to go pick up our vassals' troops as well. Obviously want to make sure that we've got as many men as possible. We are going to get a large portion of land from this. We want to make sure that this is something that is going to go, correctly. We'll also notice that I do have Tythalia here actually part of this assault. So our allies have already landed and are already taking Portua. So we're going to go and come up from the south to actually cut off the enemy's reinforcements. Obviously the last thing we want to do is have all these guys actually assembling, and then it could become a genuine threat. So we do manage to join in for this very, very large battle of 6,000 men on either side. Of course, 6,000 men against 6,000 elves is something that really it is just destined for them to fail. So we have managed to successfully fight them off and be very victorious. Luckily our skill of our generals is one not to be sniffed at. And we're going to try and hold besiege here in Geraz. And also our allies are obviously besieging the capital of the kingdom in Portua. And so we're going to hold this land and hopefully steadily manage to claim some land here. And obviously this is taking quite a while, as obviously wars in this are not quick events, but we are managing to see we are managing to see some progress in the besiegers, and they are steadily wearing down the people inside the castles. We're going to choose to pull away, however. Reason being is we have noticed this rather large force of over 1,000 men coming up from over in the east from their ally. Their ally has finally arrived. Managed to also, while we're doing this, as you have just seen there, we have managed to get the claim on one of the other duchies for the islands. We'll definitely get that straight away. We're in a pretty good place in terms of money. So even though we are actually holding an army of over 4,000 men, we are still managing to keep this actual force supplied with only a minor loss to our gold, which obviously means that's something that we can keep doing. We won't actually run out of money, which is obviously a concern. The last thing that you obviously want during a war while you're trying to lead troops obviously is to lose the money to be able to pay them and feed them. So Tythalia is having to be very careful with, make sure she has enough money to be able to ensure that she does actually able to continue the wars, although that's something that she does believe that she will be able to do. And like so, she has managed to claim one of the castles herself, as has her allies. So I'm going to go and make sure that these lands do not fall back into enemy hands. We have here swapped over. Allies have moved down to the south. We went over Sandoval, cut off some of our enemy's reinforcements, and then have managed to move back up to Portua to hopefully continue maybe another assault, and we shall see how that goes. So we are steadily going along. We are getting quite a good war score here, and as you can see we have managed to be victorious, and there we go, a very large amount of land change. So we are going to hand out these bottom three to our sons, ensure that way they are managing to get some land as well. So we've made new march. We are now the first elf in, as I said earlier on, thousands, if not 1,000 years plus, for the Warhammer lore to actually own land on part of the Old World. Obviously we are very far south of the Old World, very far away from the Empire and Bretonia and places like that that people will know and love. However, we are going to have a look around and going to see if, and so I'm just trying to find this guy, as apparently there is a guy who could potentially be the one who would be taking our holds if we were to die. Obviously it's very unlikely that he will. We will actually outlive him, but still not really wanting to risk that. Okay, and so it's this guy who actually, I believe, who may be able to claim it. However, that's not a massive concern for us or anything. So we managed to got all of this duchy. We're going to now disband all these troops, because obviously you cannot declare a war with levies raised. You will notice we have got quite a few human vassals there, obviously something that we would probably quite like to rectify. So we are going to just have a look, see if there's anything worth doing here, which obviously there isn't, but we are then going to start to pass these 3 kingdoms out to our 3 sons. It seems appropriate. So let's find them, and we're actually going to keep Poitiers for ourselves. Believe we're in a good enough position to actually be able to hold on to it. So we're going to do this so that way we can claim more, keep more land for ourselves. And there you go. You can even see the other one writing, even larger than the others. It's one thing that I do like in this game, is to be able to see just how big the name of your kingdom is growing. And so hopefully we will be able to claim all the southern area of this if we can. It's one of our aims, although that is something that we will cover in later episodes. Obviously, if there is anything that you do want to see happen in later episodes, then please do feel free to comment below, and I will be happy to take them on board. I very much like this to be an interactive one if it's something that you wanted to do. So here we have declared war to claim obviously this other island, which is a whole duchy unto itself. We're going to have a look, see, we've got another 277 men there, so that is not a massive force, but respectable enough, so that's something that we will look at keeping for the time being, and we will keeping them there for the time being, and then we will raise them up once our main force has managed to rise. But in a sneak attack, one thing that Tythalia hadn't anticipated was that these people have actually managed to attack us. And you can see we are still going to lead our troops, something that we have tried to avoid doing in the past, but we are pretty confident that Tythalia can lead the forces against some small upstart human and come out pretty much okay. So we are heading again over the seas. This is something that we are going to be having a look at. She's well aware that obviously having to bring the forces over from Ulthuan is not the ideal situation at the minute. And then here's word of how they have managed to besiege one of her castles, which is obviously something that she can't allow and something that she will have to rectify. So there is quite a lot of men there, but her army is still very large. And so she's going to try and sort of attack these first, see how this is going. Okay, so that's something that's probably not really going to work. You will notice there in the bottom right as well that there did appear to be some stuff going on in Ulthuan, but it was something that we do not care about. So we're going to take these lands first, and then we will move back and see what we can do about reclaiming the lands that they've decided that they feel they need to take off us. So let's see how this is going. So the besiegement of this castle is going pretty slowly, actually, although it is nearly done now. There we go, we've managed to claim this one. So we are going to now put our troops back into the actual boats, get them back in and get this land so that, oh, and there we go, they have tried to attack us. I shall of course fight him. I am not going to be defeated by some man. And there we go, we managed to kill him, as I said earlier. Somebody we are not exactly afraid of. And so we are going to, first of all, try and get this city liberated, which we do pretty easily. And this one is going to go quite easily as well, I believe. So yeah, it won't take too long, and obviously we can see that the land that we have managed to hold of theirs is steadily being besieged and is going to be released, but that is something that we will deal with if needs be. First of all, we are going to remove these guys, as that is quite a large force, although we do outnumber them 4-1, and despite our morale having come off the ships, we take them out pretty easily. And like so, we have now managed to claim these lands, which we are going to also give to our son, who is obviously our heir as well. So we will give him those lands, and then we will quite simply get rid of all of our troops and our ships. No sense in keeping them raised during peacetime, and then we will try and actually rebuild our coffers. They are getting, they aren't getting lower, but they were staying definitely very low. It's been one of the advantages of having claimed those 4 extra kingdoms, is now that we can raise our whole army without there being a deficit to our income. Obviously it will massively reduce the amount of income that we are getting, but regardless it is still going to bring in some. And we have moved our priest there to begin converting the old world to our religion, so that hopefully we can have some form of religious unity in our kingdoms. And so let's see, we're just going to have a go at trying to sort of organise this land and to see how it goes, and then of course what should happen. But our High Prince, who we never trusted, decides he wants Potier for himself. This is obviously something we can't allow. We send back a letter to him, laughing at him, informing him that we will never give him this land. And he raises up a flag of war in claiming that we are rebels and are not following our liege lord. So let's have a look. We've managed to assemble an army quite quickly of 3,000 men back in this, and so we are going to first of all cut off these reinforcements here. However, we are well aware, as we can see down south of us in Etharal, that we are in a bit of a problem, as there is no way that we will be able to assault his main army. I just checking to see whether we might be able to have claimed a white peace, but that is not something that they are going to accept, and that is something that we will have to deal with. I believe that it is something that luckily we have a lot of allies that we can call in, so we are going to improve our relationship with these people, and then hopefully we should actually be able to call all of our allies into our war. So we will just have a look to see whether there was any mercenaries or anything, and by chance all of our allies, despite having just been involved in a war with us, have all agreed to join our war against our High Prince, who is a man who now is probably going to be outnumbered when compared to us. We are going to make sure that we hold our lands for the time being. Luckily, because the lands that he is trying to claim are so far away from himself, it's not something he's going to really be able to win this war by just by actually moving into these lands and besieging them, so they are reasonably safe. So we will, for the minute, just focus on actually getting our troops from the old world actually over to Ulthuan. Irony hopefully not lost on there, that we've obviously been doing the exact same to get these lands, and now it's basically turned to 180 and come back here obviously. And the battle that our commands have been leading for us has actually been successful. We've managed to right these guys who are attempting to attack us in our own capital, and we're obviously going to chase them down and make sure that they regret the fact that they decided to try and attack us. And now you will notice we are actually bringing in over 675 troops, which is obviously quite a bit higher from the 277 I believe that we had originally, just before we'd managed to claim these new lands. So we do have a decent number of forces. Obviously this army here that we have is quite, shall we say, war-torn and ragged now, as it was originally sort of 3,000, but Now, it's an advantage that we do have. By managing to claim and take this guy prisoner, we've actually managed to boost our war score a little bit. We are actually winning. He doesn't seem to be, for some reason, quite willing to come and attack us. Not something I'm complaining about, as if he did, he would very, very quickly, quite simply, just sweep us away, and then we would basically have no choice but to accept his demands. But for the most part, he seems to be willing to keep his large army in the lands that he owns. I'm guessing in terms of a defense, he isn't quite sure what to do, which is actually probably his biggest mistake. If he had attacked when he's had the chance, then this war would have likely been a very, very different story. But we are going to move further east, and we are actually going to besiege some of his lands as well, while our allies are coming up from the north. They've already managed to take one hold, which is always a good thing, and we are going to unify all of these forces into 2,400 men and 2,400 elves, I probably should say. Reorganize the commanders and everything to make sure that the most effective people are actually the ones who are leading this army, and I'm going to just get rid of those ships. Obviously no sense in having them extra if we don't need them. And so our High Prince Moranion has apparently founded a new faction. He seems to be basically trying to split his focus along a couple of different fronts. Something I think that probably will have been his downfall. He should really have just focused on trying to take us before starting a new faction, and having split his attention in multiple ways. But as we can now see, that Tythalia is gaining the upper hand steadily, and they have now got their allies of 5,000 men up in the north of his lands that are actually attacking a couple of different areas. We're going to have a look at some other lands that we would actually be able to move into, making sure that obviously we are keeping our forces nice and far away from the actual main 7,000 men, or elves I should say. I keep calling them men by accident, that he has, and we're going to sort of use these ships to basically jump around and claim lands as and when we can, and hopefully this should manage to actually get it to a point where we will be the ones who will be able to attack him. And obviously we notice there these men attacking, going to try and liberate the lands from the northern islands. We're not going to allow that though. And so let's see how we go. We've got obviously 54. He would accept a white piece, but Tythalia thinks, you know what, I've got the upper hand here. Let's try and see if we can't keep going a little bit. Let's really make him regret starting this war. And so we are going to do that. And okay, and he has been, our shadow has been discovered, so we are going to send him off though into the old world, I believe, possibly. Yep, we're going to send him to the dwarves to try and see if we can't gain some of their well-known engineering technologies. So let's see how this is going, and managed to convert one of my subjects. And let's see what's going on here. So there appears to be something that's happened with a courtier there and some form of farmer. Obviously we decided to pay it ourselves, judging that it is right as the main liege of this person. Although we are still obviously currently rebelling against our liege, and we are getting quite a bit of momentum here. And we've got 64% war score, very, very good place to be in, although these are taking quite a while. And we are steadily managing to bring more of his northern lands into place. And I do believe it's safe to say that the High Prince is now probably regretting declaring war, believing us weaker than we were. Which obviously, while we are certainly weaker than him, us plus our combined allies are more than a match for him. Obviously as well, if he hadn't actually waited around and he chose to actually capitalise on what he was doing, then I think this probably would have been a very, very, very different story. So we are finally managing to sort of wrap up this, I believe, and so we're going to go and have a look back over in the old world to start to think about some expansion into there, whether we want to mop up these islands or whether we want to expand around Portua and claim some more land on the mainland. And so there we go, we managed to gain another castle there. Obviously we are going to go and make sure that these guys are there, and you will notice that I do believe my war score has actually gone down there a little bit, but has gone up again. So we are actually going to fight this war though, get these 200 men out of here. You will notice my soldiers are decreasing quite a lot. We now have less than 1500, so I think it is now just to accept a white peace. We're still going to obviously claim lands. We will get some prestige, and he will mainly lose 100 prestige, which is obviously going to be a big hit to him, which is definitely something that we want. So we send him the letter back basically saying that either accept these demands and we will leave it there and there will be no hard feelings. Obviously he still, it's safe to say, does not like us, High Prince Moranian. He is though not somebody that I exactly care for, to say the least. He wants to institute medium crown authorities. We are going to ignore that. We do not want him having more power over us than is absolutely necessary. He is definitely somebody that we're going to be looking at getting rid of. Maybe wanting to claim our own actual land so that we could be a direct liege of the High King of Ulthuan, man who we actually look up to and probably believe is, you know, sort of the saviour of the Elven race, or the Phoenix King as he is actually known, is something is believed to be sort of leading the whole. Unfortunately, however, though, as you will have just seen there, despite our choice to ignore it, it does unfortunately come to pass that we have actually lost that choice. We wanted obviously to ignore it, but it still went through, and so there's now a medium crown authority in the Kingdom of Yevris that we are part of. Obviously this is something that we do want to expand into Yevris more, and they're looking obviously at our old claim that we have for some of the mainland, wishing that we could use it. Unfortunately we are kind of, our hands are quite tied on that one for the minute. So this is a pretty good place to leave it, I think. We've managed to go both into the old one and fend off a attack by our liege attempting to revoke some of our lands. He still has no land of his own in the old world, and I think it's safe to say that his so shall we say renown among the other elves is definitely something that is going to be an he is embarrassed, shall we say, when he obviously has to go back to his lands and say that one of the princesses of one of the marches of his land, who actually owns the majority of his land, managed to basically order him about and decide on his policies as to what lands he owns and what lands she owns. So this is a pretty good place to leave it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and of course please do feel free to subscribe. I am putting these off regularly, and please do expect within the next couple of days I am going to start another Let's Play series. So let me know what you think. If there's anything you want to see me play on that, obviously send me a comment, but main one is obviously to subscribe, and then you will obviously get notifications when I release my new content. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Etharal here for EGN, and I shall see you next time.